It's day 195 of this Growing California Goldenrod from Seed series. I have two new shoots funneling out from the center mass where I supposedly have rhizomes underneath. And that brings a total number of inflorescences to 6. This is a totally different mode of growth from the early on beginning phases of this plant series where everything was spreading out radially, just randomly in 360 degrees as ground creeping plant. Ever since it had plans to flower, everything changed, and this longest, oldest inflorescence is very top heavy. It depends on the rail to support itself. So I don't know if it's like this in nature in the wild. I don't think so, but I did something wrong somewhere along the way, or this just doesn't deal with having sun just coming in one direction every day, as well as its native wild cousins. So I saw a honeybee collecting some pollen and nectar here. I haven't caught any other pollinators in the act, although I did see a hummingbird that used to visit my balcony every day. No longer seems to do, at least not while I'm out there. It hovered in front of that batch of flowers. So it's day 204. I decided to finally end this series. The inflorescences, the 3 main ones and oldest ones, are longer than a meter. This middle one, the third longest one, is branching out in all different directions. I'm sure that would have resulted in a different kind of growth. It didn't happen with the other two. They just went ahead and flowered. So I have this beautiful bouquet of flowers. You could see at the tip for the very first inflorescence on the left, some of the flowers are finally dying. They've been in bloom for weeks. So that's why I was saying this is similar to orchids in that respect. These flowers are hard to capture the detail on in bright daylight like this because it's just a bright, blinding yellow that saturates everything. So I'll be sad to see this go, but this plant series was not popular in the least, unfortunately. And I have interest in all sorts of local plants. Unfortunately, the general public doesn't. So this third one, it's branching out. I'm sure it would have ended up like this first and second inflorescence, but it would have been much more spectacular in its blooms. Meanwhile, I lost a lot of foliage on that first one, and now I'm going to do the digging to show you the root system. So based on the droopiness of these inflorescences, I expected these to just break off. But when I pulled, I was very surprised that they're very, very tough. And they're sort of like a flexible bamboo in terms of toughness. So it seems like California goldenrod is very intolerant of wet soil. I tried to keep the soil mass, the root ball, dry for as long as I could. But then the top would look dry from being struck by the sun every day, and I would water, and I experienced a comeback in this plant midway through the series, so I figured why not water a little bit more. Maybe that's what's preventing these 3 main or 4 inflorescences from standing up straight, or at least having some kind of structure so that they're not reliant on the balcony rail. And even with the balcony rail, they were basically drooping over that too. So it was a rather unhealthy, cumbersome situation, and I detected no rhizomes. I am seemingly terrible at growing rhizomes. Every plant that is said to have a rhizome, even ginger, I couldn't really increase its rhizome mass that much. I think the common thread is I water too much, I overwater, and potting mix is very hygroscopic. It holds on to water very well. So everything just doesn't do well. Sometimes get leaf rot, root rot. So that's it. You can see some of the roots are a little bit more green or yellow. I think that's because as the root ball sucked all the water out of the soil, then it kind of cracked away from the pot. So light could get in at certain angles, and that's what caused the greening of some of the roots. This 4th inflorescence was just awful and unproductive. So thank you for watching this California goldenrod growing series. I'm going to continue to steer my channel in a more productive direction, which has already begun with my mango growing series. And I'm going to take one of my viewer suggestions and regrow avocado, which I did in 2016. I think that'll be a hit if I can get it to grow faster.